Welcome back to the channel. Today we're just going to be getting into some first round prospects that we saw get drafted this past week in the NFL draft. Starting off, we're going to start with Jeremiah Love. Pulling up his RAS grade, he has an elite 40-yard dash, elite 20 and 10-yard splits. He's a really good athlete, as we've seen on film. Height is pretty good, weight's pretty good. He didn't really test a whole lot other than doing the 40-yard dash. But as we've seen on film, he is an electric player. And like looking at like team based, the Arizona Cardinals, they're not projected to be one of the best teams in the NFL. But as you can see, these projections are made by ESPN. He projects, Jeremiah Love to be the starter, get 1,000 yards and even 514 yards in receiving, 67 receptions. So that's huge for fantasy. He projects him to be really good in fantasy, 1,000 yards, around 7 touchdowns, 514 yards. That's 1,500 yards from scrimmage, almost 1,600. That's really good for fantasy. As for like the team though, landing spot wise, the Arizona Cardinals aren't going to be the best team. They don't have their quarterback figured out. Their offensive line is probably still going to be a little shaky. Like he even projects their unit grades, like quarterback 3, running back, they have them as 7 as a unit, wide receiver 6, tight end, 8, O-line 6. So middle of the road offensive line, but it can get the job done. But overall, like they're projected to win like 3.5, 4 games. So it comes and goes. I think that there is a lot of upside to, Jeremiah Love. He's going to be a great player. Eventually the Cardinals will probably, be good. But I just think right now with the landing spot, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. I also do think that Tyler Algier or James Conner will probably not be on the team by, July, August time, when training camp starts to get going. I think one of them is going to either be traded or cut. Maybe they cut Bam Knight. I'm not 100% sure, but it does not seem to me like James Conner more than Tyler Algier. I think James Conner will probably be traded or let go. And now looking at Fernando Mendoza, I have the RAS grade up here. This basically all is showing that how athletic he is. Height and weight, is really good. He didn't test at all. He threw at his pro day, but he didn't run or do the bench or verts or anything like that. Like he doesn't need to. He was the 101 locked in. But as looking for the outlook for the Raiders, they have him, playing a lot this season, throwing for 3,200 yards, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, even getting 225 on the ground. That's not bad. I do think that Kirk probably could start the first couple of games of the season, so you have to take that into account. I do think if Fernando ends up playing the whole season, I think his floor is pretty high, and the ceiling is probably low, though. The Raiders probably still aren't going to be the best team. I think they're going to be better than last year, but still not anything amazing. His weapons, he doesn't really have any besides Brock Bowers. It's Trey Tucker, Jalen Nailor, Jack Besh, Dante Thornton, and then you got Brock Bowers. So, his weapons are not good. So I don't expect him to, go off and make the playoffs this season or anything by that means, but I think he's going to be, an average quarterback that can get the job done. Now moving into Carnell Tate, looking at his RAS grade, just showing how athletic he is. He didn't really test that great. They have him as like an okay 4.53 40, and everything else is just kind of meh, but that doesn't take away from what we see on film. I just like to look at that, just kind of, see how athletic the player is. But it's a good starting point just to look at prospects for sure. But I do think he's a very good prospect. And even Mike Clay over at ESPN projects him as going to be the lead wide receiver, getting 1,000 yards this season for 4 touchdowns. Cam Ward has the weapon now of Carnell Tate, and I think that it's going to pay off big time. They still probably aren't going to be a very good team overall, but I do think Carnell Tate is probably going to eat in this offense. They're going to throw a lot of passes. They're going to be losing a lot in games, so they're going to have to play from behind, so throwing a lot of passes. And their overall offensive wise, I think they'll just be okay. I don't think they're going to be great right off the bat. I think that getting Carnell Tate definitely elevates the game for Cam Ward for sure, and I think that it's going to pay off. But just for this season, I think that, Carnell Tate's going to be pretty good, just not great. Moving on to Jordan Tyson. He got drafted to the New Orleans Saints. He didn't really test or anything like that, but he did end up doing the bench press, which was really good. He scored really well on that. That's a good plus. He's not the tallest, not the shortest, so he comes in pretty much average height with the RAS grades. But just looking at the Saints as a whole, he is going to be in a wide receiver room with Chris Olave, who ate last year. He was really good. He was a target dominant player. He was fed so much. Tyler Shuck loved throwing the ball to him. And now Jordan Tyson comes in. He's going to have to fight for, he's going to have to fight for catches, fight for, getting open, being on the field. He's probably not going to, play every down at first, and he'll have to build that roll up. But I do think this wide receiver room gets a huge boost for this team. Tyler Shuck gets him another weapon. And they also got Travis Etienne this offseason. So I think the offense will be pretty good. Kellen Moore is going to be, he's going to have all the weapons at his disposal. I think that, their projections for this are pretty accurate, with Chris Olave still being the 1 and Jordan Tyson coming in with the 2 there. Almost getting 1,000 yards, which is still really good for a rookie season. I think that Jordan Tyson will pay off in the future. Just probably not going to be great this season. I think he'll still have a pretty solid, good season, though, just like Mike Clay is projecting. All right, and then taking a look at the New York Jets, they drafted Omar Cooper Jr. in the first. He actually comes in as a great athlete, scoring pretty good on the vertical, great in the 40-yard dash with the 4.42. His splits were pretty good. He's not the biggest or the heaviest or anything. That doesn't take away from his athleticism. I think they graded him very well. And then looking at Kenyon Sadiq, tight end, the New York Jets also drafted in the first round. He's the athlete that is sought after, that every tight end wants to be. I would honestly say he's more of a receiver than anything else. He comes in 40-yard dash, 4.39. Are you kidding me? That's amazing. His splits were amazing. For a tight end, he's not the tallest or the heaviest by any means, but he is explosive, comes in as a great athlete. I think he's going to definitely be a weapon for the offense and for the future of this team. Looking at kind of what Mike Clay is projecting for this team, Omar Cooper Jr. coming in with the second in targets, second in receptions. They still got to play behind Garrett Wilson, so it's not the best landing spot for Omar Cooper Jr. and Kenyon Sadiq, honestly, because they're always going to be fighting for targets after Garrett Wilson. But still a pretty solid, okay season from both of them. Getting targets after Garrett Wilson is always tough, but I think that the Jets definitely took a step in the right direction to start winning more games. Even with Geno Smith being the quarterback, it's kind of is going to set them up for the future. Even if they have a top pick next year, all they need is a quarterback and some other pieces. But I think that they're in a good spot with weapons and at their disposal, and Geno Smith has definitely got some guys to throw to this season. I'm pretty optimistic for Omar and Kenyon Sadiq going forward in the future. Maybe not right out the gate this season, but for the future. Now, if we take a look at Ty Simpson, he got drafted 13th overall this season. There's really not much else to say besides he's going to sit behind Matthew Stafford and learn as much as he can. I didn't really love him as a prospect. I think that, him getting drafted in the first round says a lot, probably from the Rams. But overall, I think that he's still going to have to wait his turn, learn a lot in the NFL. But he's going to be behind Matt Stafford, so there's not really much to show like projection wise. And then looking at Jadarian Price, he ended up getting drafted right at the end of the first round, probably to the best landing spot possible for him. He's not a crazy athlete or anything, but he's pretty solid. He did have to play behind Jeremiah Love his college career at Notre Dame, but he made the most of it. He had a ton of yards and a ton of touchdowns last season, and I do think he's a really explosive player on film. He plays a lot faster than everything on this RAS grade is showing. Not the tallest or the heaviest or anything. Pretty good 40 His vertical is okay. His broad jump's pretty good. Pretty good athlete coming in at 8.33. That the RAS grade shows that he's a pretty good athlete. And even just looking at projections, he's projected to lead this running back room right out the gate, coming in with Mike Clay having him at 900 yards, 7 touchdowns, even getting involved in the passing game a little bit with 216 yards, 27 catches. Zach Charbonnet tore his ACL in the playoffs. He's not going to be ready to go. Kenneth Walker is not on the team anymore. I think that this is the perfect window for Jadarian Price to come out during training camp, preseason, and the beginning of the season, show what he's really about, take over this running back room. And I think that he can. I think that, he lived a little bit in the shadow of Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame, but I think that, him emerging on the scene is going to happen this season, and we'll see what happens. Next, we have Makai Lemon. He ended up getting drafted 20th overall to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys and the Eagles made a trade so they could get up and get Makai Lemon. I like Makai Lemon a lot on film. He's not the, greatest athlete on RAS grade or anything like that. Okay speed, not very tall, not very heavy or anything like that, but that doesn't take away from what he is as a prospect. I think that he's a great route runner, can get into open space, ability to find some soft spots in the zone. I think that he's just a really good player overall. Character-wise, I'm not really sure where to stand after seeing some interviews and other stuff, but that all comes with time and practice and everything. But I do really like him as a prospect. Even though Mike Clay doesn't project him, to be the best this season, he still projects him to come in as the number 2 for the Eagles. He actually doesn't even have A.J. Brown on this list because we all think that, we all know that A.J. Brown's probably going to be traded. He has him coming in with 46 receptions, 640 yards, 4 touchdowns, so that's okay. This isn't really a high passing volume offense, so you have to take everything really with a grain of salt. Makai Lemon, he's probably not going to get the most targets until this offense changes their ways. Maybe if Jalen Hurts, isn't the quarterback anymore in the future. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but this is a run first offense going through Saquon and Jalen Hurts. So I don't love the landing spot for Makai Lemon. I think he's a great prospect, but don't love the landing spot just because of the run heavy offense. All right, and looking at Casey Concepcion, he is a pretty good athlete. He's has a nose for the end zone, makes touches out of nothing. That is jet sweeps, a little bit of gadget player. I like him a lot as a prospect. He's not the tallest and the biggest like a lot of these wide receivers this season, but he is a pretty good athlete. He didn't really have any other testing, so not really much to show there. But projection-wise, he is projected to be the leading receiver in this room, pretty much the same as Jerry Jeudy. So there is going to be a lot of fighting for targets in this room between Concepcion, Jeudy, Boston. I think that, Concepcion could get involved in the running game as well, so that's a plus for him. But overall, I'm not sure if I want to be attached to someone in the Browns offense yet. Like, we don't know who the quarterback is. We don't know what this offense is going to look like at all. Really, he has it projected as Watson and Sanders playing pretty much half the season each, and looks like they have almost the same exact stats, but besides the point, I think Concepcion could be good in the future. I don't think he's going to be great out the gate like a lot of these players. This is a weak class this year, in my opinion. Their wide receiver room ranks, pretty average, but it could be good. I don't know what this offense is really going to look like, but they probably are going to be losing a lot of games, so a lot of pass attempts probably, but I can't really trust this Browns offense quite yet. But I do like Concepcion as a player. And even just taking a look at the quarterback projections, he has Fernando Mendoza down here, kind of below Aaron Rodgers, Jacoby Brissett, right above Tua, so not very, high. He has him ranked 30th with all these projections, kind of put into order of, best to worst. He has him ranked 30th. I think that is pretty accurate of what it's probably going to be. I would say probably 25. I'll give him a ceiling of 20. Probably 20 is where I could see him, being his best this year. And then I'd say probably about this 30 to 32 being, at his worst. But I do just want to look at these just to show you guys, like, look, he's going to be good eventually. He just doesn't have the pieces yet. No wide receivers. It's the Raiders. And then I can show you guys the running back projections. They have Jeremiah Love coming in right in the pretty much the top. He's top 10. He's ranked actually 10th, coming in, but behind Saquon, right above Breece Hall. He's going to get fed according to all these projections. You know, insiders are saying that he's going to be fed. And I believe it. You know, I think that he will. Jadarian Price is down here, ranked at 31, right below Jaylen Warren, right above Rachaad White, which I think that is probably pretty accurate, because when Sharp comes back, you know, he's going to take carries, and they love a committee out there anyway. But I think that Jadarian Price could show that, you know, he's got, you know, a high floor, high ceiling. I think that, you know, he's a pretty good prospect that the Seahawks might just find out that they struck gold with him. And then looking at full wide receiver projections, really the only thing to note on this one would be Jordan Tyson coming in at 37. He is projected the highest out of all of them that we just went over in the first round, coming in right after Parker Washington and Chris Godwin, and right above Christian Watson and Mike Evans and Shakir. I think that's a pretty good sign for him. And even looking at the second page, we have KC Concepcion coming in at rank 46. We have Omar Cooper Jr. coming in at 56, and Mekhi Lemon coming in at 60. So I mean, you look at these receivers, they're not projected going to be wide receiver 2s or 3s. I mean, Jordan Tyson's 3-ish, 4, but I mean, they could emerge later in the season with, you know, time, but I don't expect all of them to be great right out the gate. And Carnell Tate, actually, I think he does project pretty well. I think he is higher than Jordan Tyson. Let me go back to that. Yeah, he actually is ranked as a wide receiver 2. He got ranked 24th. So that's a pretty good ranking for him, which I think is accurate, because he's going to dominate the target share. He's going to be, you know, Cam Ward's number 1 option. Then looking at the tight ends, really all we have to look for is Kenyon Sadiq. I don't believe is going to be super highly rated, coming in at rank 21, right behind George Kittle and above Brenton Strange, which I think is pretty accurate. It's going to be a tough room to, you know, get targets in with Geno Smith. And then they have Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper Jr., and Sadiq, and Breece Hall. There's a lot of touches to go around. I don't think that Sadiq is going to be amazing yet. Like I said, I like him as a prospect. He's a great receiver, but I don't think he's going to be amazing yet. But that pretty much wraps it up for this video. I just wanted to go over some first-round prospects and kind of landing spots and outlooks probably for this season with Mike Clay's projections, which, you know, they're not always the most accurate. I just do think it's a good baseline to look at. He does them every year, and I like to look at them for fantasy purposes and just for baseline, like I was saying. But if you guys like this style of content, just be sure to like and subscribe. I really appreciate all you guys watching, and then we'll see you in the next one.